A lot of people want to learn how to hear from their spirit guides and have a relationship with their spirit guide once they realize and learn that they do have guides to assist them in this life. But how do you hear them? How do you know that they're with you and communicating with you? I'm going to share some insights from a channeled message that I received from my guides the other day about how to connect and hear from your spirit guides. And we might actually experience a channeling with them during this episode. So stay tuned. I never know when they're going to pop in and want to do a channeling, and I'm feeling them wanting to speak. So don't be surprised as some point they take over this episode. Welcome to the Soul Alignment Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Angie, and I'm inviting you to explore the depths of self-sabotage, limiting mindsets, and the beliefs that hinder our progress in life. Through intuitive messages I receive from my spirit team, I share profound insights to help you live authentically and break free from these limitations. Join me now as we uncover all the keys to living your best life. Welcome back. My name's Angie, and I'm your Soul Alignment Mentor, bringing you intuitive messages from my spirit team to help you align with your most authentic and highest self. So as a medium and a psychic who has frequent contact with spirits that are either loved ones of people that I'm around or people I'm doing reading for, or my own loved ones and spirit guides on the other side that I'm communicating with and working with, I have had to work on learning how to hear from spirits, from our guides, and what it feels like and what it might sound like is a way that we could describe it as a human. However, I hear quite often from many of my one-on-one clients and from people that are just reaching out to me randomly, asking me about questions about their spiritual growth, their healing, their frequency, connecting with their guides, hearing from their guides, is I can't hear my guides. I don't know that they are there. How do I feel them? How do I hear from them? How do I know that they're giving me a message? How do I know that this sign is from them? There's all kinds of things that we could come up in our questioning on connecting with our guides. The first thing I want to point out, and they're wanting to assure that I say this, is that you've never been separated from your guides. From the moment that you decided to come and be a human, you have had a spirit team, a basically guide or guides who chose to be with you on this journey. Now, from our human perspective, life is very long and difficult, and we're not going from age 0 to the time of our passing, maybe in our older life, in a quick amount of time compared to what the spirit realm might think and in their perception of our human life. The way that they have been able to explain to me the quickness of our human life is almost like getting whiplash. When you're in an experience and it takes seconds to be in two different places in your mind, or having an experience that happens very quickly or causes a thing like we would call whiplash. That is a sudden movement, and it really takes you off balance. And so they explained to me that what happens is we make this contract with this being, with this soul, with this energy that we call a guide on the other side. And they say, okay, you would like to have this experience as a human. You would like to go and experience these things, whether that is to clear something out from a past life or to experience something new. And I will stay with you as your guide to make sure that you do complete the mission that you came to Earth, or attempt to try to help you to do that, and to help protect you in times that you might need it. Now, here's the difference between a spirit guide and a human. We think of a guide, and sometimes in a human term, as something that intervenes or protects us at all times. And that is not necessarily a guide's job. The guide's job is to give us intuitive nudges, to give us clues of remembrance of why we came to Earth and why we're here and what we want to learn. And so many humans go through a lot of experiences in their early life and their childhood, and then later in life begin to heal from those things. And the reason my guides are wanting to bring this up, and this is not something I have thought of before, they're actually just sharing this information with me just now. So you're getting it the same time that I'm getting it. But they're saying to me that many of the humans that want to experience things that can cause them to be completely separated from themselves, in a sense of forgetting that there are spirits living a human life, and going through extreme situations that might cause some inner turmoil or pain, or causing them to forget how to connect with their own body, which would be in the mental health field, they would call this a dissociation, where you completely shut things out of your mind. So those children that might go through trauma or some major experiences that cause them early childhood advisor, like having things happening in their early life that caused their energy to shift and change in a way that they then had to overcome later on in life. So through that trauma, the reason that it happens in early childhood often is more so than maybe later life is because we choose to come in to have that experience. And the more we get into our adulthood, the more we're programmed into this world, the more conscious we become of our humanness, and the more we forget our spirit self, the less the lesson can be learned. So I'm going to meditate on this more to make sure that I get the full teaching that they're trying to give. But basically what I hear them saying is by coming in and getting it out of the way, basically the lessons of your life, it gives you an opportunity to release that energy and release that karma throughout the rest of your life. And so as we're coming into ourselves, as we're growing and learning who we are spiritually, if you're having a spiritual awakening or you've been through one, you're beginning to go back and clear out old energies that disconnected you from your true self. But in order to be in a place of having an awakening or remembering, you had to first forget. And so that often happens early in life. If you take my Raise Your Vibration course, I teach about the 7 chakras and how each chakra is developed at a certain age. So from 0 to 7, your root chakra, your foundation, is developed within that age range. And so the things that happen in that time period will build the foundation of who you are. And then you move into the sacral chakra, which is 7 to 14. The age between that is where you're going through puberty. You're becoming more independent. You're learning more a little bit about relationships and connections. And so if you think about the early foundation of your life and the situations that you went through, those things impact who you are mostly the rest of your life. And then you start to develop the other energetic system fully in your body as you get older. And so that, setting that aside as far as the frequency of your body being programmed throughout your human life, when you come into this life, you have experiences that your guide knows that your soul wanted to experience. Now, this sounds completely crazy from the perspective of our human understanding and comprehension. Why would we choose some of the things that we went through? And as somebody that did go through early childhood abuse and experience some pretty extreme things in early childhood. If you want to read my book, Leaf Lessons, you can read about my personal story and things that I went through growing up and things that I've had to overcome and heal in my own energy field to remember myself, to remember my power, to remember the abilities that I have in connecting with spirits even. So, those things that we go through actually cause us to shift in our frequency and kind of disconnect from our soul, from our true self, from our spirit. But that guide that made that contract with us to stay with us, or the guides, depending on how many lifetimes you've been through, how many lessons you've gone through, how much karma you have released or brought on, whatever, that can influence how many guides you do have. But we have this contract basically with this spirit that is helping us through the mission of our life. And so going back to the whole whiplash thing, from the spirit's perspective, we come in to this life, we're born, we're in this little baby body, and we go through our life, and we might live, say, 70, 80 years, and then we go back. And that, for us, it was a very long, slow process. For them, and for our true self, for our soul, for our spirit, it's literally a flash. We come and we go right back within moments, within seconds. And so it's kind of like having whiplash, like, whoa, I just went and experienced this really intense thing, and I'm right back here in bliss and love where there is none of that. And so the guide is there, and often we'll have a loved one, or sometimes we can even have pets, or we can have, maybe if you believe in a certain master teacher, such as Jesus or Buddha, whoever that might be, could be there waiting to help orient us back into the frequency of our true self. Because for us to gather ourselves back together after this very intense experience, they're there to help guide us through the process of looking back at that life, going through our own life review, reviewing our life, experiencing our life from the energy of our perspective and the perspective of everyone we've had contact with on earth, and then kind of clearing that out and then coming in. And so this is when you start to shift in your frequency as a spirit, and you move into different dimensional energies. And so that guide is there not just for the beginning of our life, but for the end of our life, to help welcome us back as well, because they know how intense it is. Now, why we are here, why we're having that human experience, the guide is always with us. There's not a time that they're disconnected or not. They're not. We do have certain guides that will come and go throughout our lives, depending on what we're going in that what's going on in our life at that time. And I'm not going to get too much into our soul and the frequency and how it can exist in multiple places at once, but there is a energy about us that is still with the guide. So if we were to, the best way that I have ever been able to, like, my guides have shown me on sharing this, and maybe as I'm speaking this out, they'll give me a new example, but, is if you go back into the 80s, 90s, maybe even early 2000s. I'm not sure when it changed, but they used to have these things called projectors in the classroom. If you look up a projector on Google, I'm sure you'll be able to see one of these. But it basically was this machine that had this tall light on it that shone down on a clear, like almost a mirror, and you'd sit a clear piece of paper, like I can't remember the name of it exactly, but you set a piece of paper on there, and then the light would project off of that onto the wall. And so it would almost be like you're seeing a computer screen, but this is actually a light reflecting up onto the wall. And so the way that our soul, our spirit is it is the projector of who we are in this human life. So the actual image is not who we are. We are the reflection of our actual image, if you can think of it that way. They're giving me the example now. I knew they would probably give me a new one of the example of going to the movies. The light that shines the movie onto the screen, that doesn't have the original making of the movie. The people made the movie, they were filmed, and then they projected that movie onto that reel, and the reel is projecting that light into you being able to watch it on a screen through light. So, but the original human that is in that film, in that movie, that's not who you're actually interacting with. You don't have that person right there in front of you, being able to interact with them in real life. You have a projection of them. And so our soul is projecting itself into this human experience that you are having right now. But we forgot that. We forgot it when we came into this life, and our guide is there to help remind us, if we're meant to wake up in that lifetime, of that experience of who we are. So just by you simply tuning in and listening to this episode means that you are at that point where you're ready to start to hear, if you haven't already discovered this about yourself, that you are a reflection of your higher self. And that the images and the things that you're experiencing here is just a reflection and a experience that you decided to have because it is part of what your soul wanted to experience. So that is the first thing I wanted to share about our guides, or guides in particular. Now, how in the heck do you know that they're there? Or how can you talk to them? How can you hear from them? How can you feel them and sense them? All these things. And here's what my spirit team shared with me the other night when I was asking, how can I help teach this better? How can I help other humans hear from you guys? Because I know you're always with them. I know you always have support that you would like to share, but we don't always know that. We don't always feel it. And so they started to speak to me about how we become disconnected from ourselves as we're growing up, and that our frequency begins to shift into a lower frequency, and that their frequency does not change. Our frequency shifts into a different frequency because we start to experience pain. We start to experience shame. We start to experience guilt or grief or anger or fear. We start to have all the human feelings that we have here on earth, which are lower dimension energies and feelings. And we start to pull those into our experience, and we start to identify with them. We start to believe that they are a part of who we are. And these are very unconscious often. So if I have feelings of shame about myself, I can become addicted to those feelings if I don't know that I have them. And I began to feed off of that feeling because it's what has kept me alive and has kept me moving forward in my life in some way. People can become addicted to fear. People can become addicted to pain. This is something that in our human experience, our ego will begin to use because it feels that we can meet our needs through it. So it's going to continue to get its needs met through what it learned to do to get the original need met. So if you have developed fear in your early childhood, and it's something that has continued through your life, you're automatically going to go into that frequency because it's your set point, it's your foundation. And in order to move out of that frequency, you have to know it's there, first of all, and then shift your perspective and heal that and overcome that with the light of who you truly are. And so every time you raise your frequency, you're getting to know yourself more and more. You're getting to know your true self. You're feeling safer within your body. You're feeling safer within your mind. You're getting to know your abilities, your gifts. You're seeing yourself in a different light. You're releasing the shame. You're releasing the doubt. You're releasing the low self-confidence. You're releasing all those things of who you really are not so that you can learn who you really are. But in order to get to a place where you know for sure that you can hear from your guides, from your spirit team, or even loved ones on the other side, is by getting to know yourself. Many of the humans that have a hard time hearing from their guides or trusting that they are hearing from their guides is because they don't trust themselves. You have to first trust in your own energy, in your own higher self, in order to trust when you're hearing from your guides. And I hear and I feel and I sense the guides, my personal guides, wanting to pop in right now at this point to share their perspective of this. And so I'm going to just let them take over because they're much better at this than I am, at explaining this. And so if you have never seen me channel before, I am a trans channel. And so I am going to step my ego aside for a moment to allow my guides to come through and speak. And I will have my eyes closed while I do this. Before I start this, I do also feel as if I'm supposed to allow questions to come in for my guides. They're feeling eager to answer some questions. So if you do have questions regarding this episode of something that they are not able to answer, or another episode that you would like to see happen in the future, they're eager to help. They want to help. These are, I'm connecting with your guides as well. When you're connecting with me and you're connecting with this episode, I'm not just listening to my guides, I'm listening to your guides. So we're working together in the energy field because we're all one energy. So I am going to allow them to come. Awakened one, you must realize that when you are in a frequency that is different, or what you might call as a human dense or low, you have a hard time engaging with the frequency of your true self, with your higher self. And your higher self is always divinely connected to us. We are all one energy. There is no way to separate us from each other because we are all one. We all come from source. We all come from the same space in which we were created, and therefore we will always remain in that same energy. We are all just experiencing things at different frequency and different elements of energy in this universe. And so for you at this time, you are experiencing the human life. And in that human life, you forget that you are an energy and that you are a frequency. And therefore you struggle to have the divine connection of who you are. And then that causes you to have a disconnect from your true self in which we are connected to. We are with you. We are always guiding you. We are always pulling you back into the frequency of your true self. It is just the work of the human, what the reason is that you became a human, to move through the different energy fields and the frequencies of the human experience to be able to have growth in your soul. By going through the lower dimensional energy and moving out of it and coming back into a higher frequency, you grow in your ability to understand yourself more. And the more you're able to understand yourself, the more you're able to hear from us, the more you're able to sense and feel us. Angie often will feel our energy around her. She senses us, she feels us, she hears us. And many times people will hear her speaking to us or see us engaging with her. And it appears as we are beside her or behind her or speaking in her ear, or she is hearing an audible voice. But really what is happening is we are interacting with her energetic field. We are interacting with her in her higher self, who is connected with us, who can bring the message down into the frequency in which she is. Now, Angie has been able to rise in her frequency to have a clear connection, to hear more, which many of the humans on earth are working at right now, and they will begin to move into this. But in order to raise your frequency, you must see what frequency is disconnecting you from your true self. Therefore, you must go inward to experience the pain. You have to turn and face darkness in order for it to leave. You cannot continue to be with it, encourage it, play with it. We might say humans do enjoy their pain. Humans do enjoy dark energy. It is quite entertaining for us to watch from this perspective. But when you come back into your true self, you always look back and you always see how you engage in these things, and you learn and you grow. And many of you will choose to go back multiple times to try to redo the lesson. But we are always there trying to nudge and guide you you in the lessons that you chose to learn, to help you to get through them in that lifetime that you want to get through them so that you can not have to do the lesson again. However, in order to get through the lesson, you have to know that you're going through the lesson. Many humans have forgotten, and therefore they get caught up in the lesson and they allow the lesson to control them. They allow the energy or the beliefs that they developed around the situations that happen in their life to begin to be their identity. And the identity is false. Anything that disconnects you from your true and most authentic highest self, which is your soul, which is the frequency of who you truly are, is not who you really are. And it's an illusion that has been created in a dimensional field. Just as Angie was speaking about the projector, it is a projection of your own energy. You project into the experience around you, the emotions, the feelings, the experiences, and then you begin to allow those things to be what creates your reality, creates your identity. And therefore you struggle to get out of that reality because you think it's real. You think it's who you really are. So in order to heal from us more, you have to look around and think, what did I create in my reality? What did I make my life look like? What did I believe to be about myself? What do I think about myself? How do I feel about myself? All these things are going to impact your energy, which will impact your ability to connect with us. So allow us to guide you on the process of opening up your energy field to come back into the frequency of understanding your true self in order to open up the field of connection and communication with us. In this process, it takes time and it takes the effort of understanding that all things work together. When you're able to open up your energetic field and release the fear that you are going to do it wrong or you can't do it, then it will happen. Many of the humans, when they attempt to start doing this, try. They begin to try all the time. And the trying is actually many times what keeps you from being able to do it. We understand that you have been taught as a human that you have to try, but trying only blocks. It is just doing, just being, just what we would encourage is stillness. Because when you're still, you do not have to do. Doing comes from the belief that if I do, it will be. But that is not how things manifest in the spirit realm. That is not how things manifest in energy. Things manifest through frequency, through belief, through trust, through being that energy. And so the more you be, the more you allow yourself to sit in stillness, to raise in frequency, to see the areas of your life where you are not believing in your true self, where you're not seeing your higher self, when you're not allowing yourself to remember your soul's purpose and mission and calling in this lifetime, you are constantly disconnecting yourself from us as well. So come back to the frequency of trust. Come back to the frequency of trusting yourself. And in order to trust yourself, you have to clear out all the things that have caused you to not trust yourself. The more you clear those out, the more trusting you become, the more your frequency rises, the more you hear from us, the more you hear from your guides, the more you hear from your higher self. And this will open up the ability to clear that veil out that has disconnected you from your true self, from the guidance of your individual intuition that you have been given for this lifetime. We have never left you alone. We have never left you in a place where you've had to figure this out on your own. It is you who decided, based on the ideas and programmings of the human life, that you had to go through this through your trying or through the hard work or through the experience and identity that you created through the experiences that you brought on as a human. The lessons you actually decided you wanted to have when you came to Earth. We will not intervene or stop these lessons from happening. However, we will guide you, we will nudge you, we will support you on getting back into the alignment that you were wanting to get back into during the lifetime that you're in. But it is up to you to be able to feel and sense those nudges. And the only way you can feel and sense is by getting to know self, by trusting self. The more you trust yourself, the more you will hear from us. The more you hear from us, the more you will raise in your frequency. You will be raising in your frequency, and we will guide you and support you in every step. And it all comes back to trust. It all comes back to loving yourself enough to trust yourself. So release the pain, release the fear, release the doubt, release the things that you have created in your identity in the energetic field in which you believe you are as a human, and remember who you are as a divine frequency, as a energy of spirit, just as powerful as any guide you were connected with. We are not separate from you. We are one with you. We have never been separate. We will never be separate from you. We are one energy. And the only reason you do not know that at this point is because you are not one with yourself. Come back to self. Come back to love, come back to trusting, and you will find your way back into hearing the frequency of our voice, feeling and sensing the frequency of our presence, and knowing that we are always guiding and supporting you. There is not a human that we do not support. There is not a spirit that we have not been guiding on this earth. But we do understand that you decided to come and have this experience. And so we allow that to happen in the way that you decide in your ability to create and manifest in your own frequency. So we just encourage you to remember that you are one with all beings, with all life, with all love. Come back to the feeling of energetic trust towards yourself and be guided by the inner light that you hold within your heart. You hold light within your heart, and it is the light that will guide you forward in connecting you deeper into your true self and deeper into your higher self, which then will be deeper into the relationship that we have already with you, and we will continue with you for eternity. We love you immensely. We are always guiding you. We are always supporting you. We love you. We love you. We love you. Remember that we are always present, and we love you. We love you. So, I do not always remember everything I channel, so I will likely go back and listen to this lesson myself. But as far as I do know, based on what I was receiving from my guides the other day, that they were talking mostly about learning how to trust yourself. To trust yourself, you have to heal everything that disconnected you from that trust. And if you're ready to start doing that, I want to encourage you to set up a one-on-one consultation with me to talk about how you can begin to heal your energy field and reconnect with your higher self to connect back with your guides. If that's something you're interested in, send me an email or set up a consultation call with me. The link will be below. Until we meet again, I wish you the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love. Namaste.